We just got ourselves some very interesting news. Apparently, U.S. Treasury Secretary Yellen sets the record straight on crypto. Little TLDR, the Secretary Janet Yellen expressed her concern about the use of crypto in illicit activity and lack of transparency in some crypto transactions. A joint statement from three U.S. federal agencies advised banks to apply existing risk management principles when addressing crypto-related illiquidity risks to protect investors. On a similar notion, apparently, Group of 20, G20, divided on debt, but united on private crypto ban. Or in different terms, the members are considering a complete ban on crypto, says the RBI governor. So as India prepares to lead the G20 summit later this year, RBI governor has said that G20 members are calling for strict crypto regulations. So the governor of the Reserve Bank of India says some members of G20 are calling for considering a complete ban on crypto ahead of the G20 summit. He said that India's position on crypto assets has been recognized by G20 members. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, India holds the presidency of the G20 from December 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2023, and the summit will be held the 9th and 10th of September this year, obviously. All the while, at the same time, we have the SEC just jabbing right now, left and right, against different parties in the stablecoin niche. And I kind of wonder how that's going to look over the next couple of weeks, but we have a little bit of news on that. And we have an XRP lawyer urging this probe can lead to the end of the US SEC chair. Interesting video, so make sure you press that like button and let us get started. Now, in an interview with Reuters, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen spoke about her views on crypto, stating she did not believe that they posed a systemic risk to financial systems, which I understand, sure. She went on to say that she believed that there was a need for a regulatory framework to protect consumers and prevent money laundering, which again is fine. And she said that she was concerned about the use of crypto in illicit activity, and the lack of transparency in some blockchain transactions. So I'd like to make one thing clear. She is not the bad guy here for saying, hey, there needs some sort of regulatory framework, there needs to be built one. But outright banning of blockchain activities is not necessary. Instead, focus should be on protecting consumers and preventing money laundering. That is fine. A lot of articles I've read surrounding her have these very heavy titles, but at the end of the day, what she's saying is what most of us really want. It's to make sure that none of these little guys in suits that have never touched grass or boobies in their lives can make this determination, this decision that, no, this crypto is too much of a risk. No, it's bad because this, that. No, we're just going to ban it. Like we're seeing with this G20 right here. If a proper framework was in place with the proper anti-money laundering rules, of which most, I guess, sources, what I mean with that is these places where you get crypto from or sell it to, already have AML rules of that nature in place. If you think about it, getting your fiat into cryptocurrency through any regulated manner, like an exchange for that matter, right? If you're just transacting with your buddy, is the same thing as doing anything with cash. It's obviously a lot harder to track AML-wise because it's your buddy. And the same thing goes for sending a piece of gold to your buddy. Obviously, it's more prone to money laundering because it's your buddy. So that does not mean that it's cryptocurrency. It's how the system was built. Point being, from that perspective, it's really not that worse than cash. It's just the way they make it seem. And you also know they want to get rid of cash, so it makes sense they are also against crypto to some degree. But Janet here is just saying, hey, let's make sure the money laundering stuff is fine, even though I think it's already quite good. And to make sure there's not as much illicit activity, which there is not really that much going on in crypto in comparison to the rest. I even like to argue that cash is way, way, way worse. And to be honest, the banking system is not that much better. Just fun fact, if you get scammed, right, and they scam you out of $100,000, it still might be a very big struggle to get your money back if you send the money off to the wrong guy and you take a couple of days to take action, if you know what I mean. But especially if you send $1,000 to the wrong guy and something happens or somebody steals it from you in some sort of attempt, yeah, good luck getting your money back. It ain't gonna work. In that sense, it's like an everlasting battle of making things safer. So again, fully agree, but I do like her approach more than what I've seen from the G20 right now. And I also like it more than what I've read. Right here. In a joint statement released by 3 United States federal agencies, the banking sector was advised against creating new risk management principles to counter liquidity risks resulting from crypto asset market vulnerabilities. This kind of has to do with FTX, etc. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and the OCC reminded banks to apply existing risk management principles when addressing crypto-related illiquidity risks. All I have to say about that is, apply the same standard as you apply with another bank if it's crypto related, and don't start saying, oh, he's involved with crypto, let's give him extra sanctions because yada yada yada. At the end, it's all the same crooked game. To not steer too far away from topic, what is G20 thinking? Basically, the Central Bank of India, what they're basically standing for is that there's nothing else that's a currency except for like a central bank issued something. And they've also taken this stance towards crypto for a very long time, and this position is now getting acknowledgement from so many different other members. As well, India might want to just kind of get all those cryptocurrencies out the park as they're preparing for a central bank digital currency, which obviously is a currency following their own set of principles. He talked about the risk of private virtual assets, and G20 nations moved a step closer to developing a coordinated and comprehensive policy approach to deal with crypto assets by considering macroeconomic and regulatory perspectives. As India says they have a risk to financial stability, which Janet Yellen does not agree with. He literally said the next major financial crisis will stem from crypto. Again, that's the central bank governor right now that's saying that. Kind of funny how BIS and all these different entities are coming together to be so negative about it, because at the end of the day, it's their bread that you're messing with. Think about it for just a split second. The central bank director, all right, the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, what is his main focus? What is his main purpose? Controlling money. Specifically, controlling every money piece aspect in the country and controlling that through this Reserve Bank, or let's call it central bank here. So what will be their worst nightmare? If they don't control everything anymore and it's up to the hand of the private, because that's literally what they said. Hey, only we can control money. And if another party wants to do that, I don't like that. I think it imposes risks, which is logical because you're messing with this guy's bread. You can see sometimes the articles that are written because of some way in which they want to make you think. They want to make you think this stuff is all bad, this cryptocurrency stuff. It's because you're messing with these guys' bread, as I earlier stated. Now, there are different entities in the US and everywhere, like India and everywhere around the world, that are not so happy with the way in which they're approaching crypto. They're not so happy with how crypto is developing, I should say. But the authority has failed to hold US SEC Chair Gary Gensler accountable for investigating capital market claims versus Sequoia China's principle. Apparently, Mr. Gary Gensler has been alleged of being biasly serving several crypto firms and personalities over time. However, the commission has also been held responsible for the recent horrible market crash regarding FTX. And these actions have led to an increased volatility in the digital asset industry. And so John Dean is basically pulling up here that he suggested a possible connection of the US SEC chair with Sam Bankman-Fried's escape and FTX collapse. And apparently, if this were to be investigated, it would be the end of Gary Gensler's scrutiny. However, Sequoia was in the tally of top investors in the FTX, and while Sam Bankman-Fried had $200 million invested in Sequoia's funds, he mentioned that Congress enabled the CCP, PLA. However, the authority has failed to hold the US SEC Chair Gensler accountable for investigating capital market claims versus Sequoia's China principle. As per the latest report, US SEC Chair stated that everything other than Bitcoin can be considered a security. Not the most well-written article ever. The point is quite clear, though. Gary Gensler has been able to roam free for too long. Investigate the guy, which they're already doing. Don't get it twisted, but just investigate him better. And like we stated with Circle and the SEC debacle, this is just a question of ethics here. I'm thinking Circle, one of the most properly backed companies in the freaking world, right? Just take a look at their backing. How can they be in any sort of trouble or under any sort of allegations regarding securities, etc.? How can the SEC even jab at them? Securities from Circle's stablecoin, which has no expectation of profit by the literal definition of being stable. How could that ever be? And why is this even a discussion we need to face? So even I think 2 years ago or so, a year and a half ago, something like that, there was a big debate between the SEC and Circle that I remember. That was a subpoena, I believe, that came out towards Circle. But even as a layer from Circle says, I don't think the SEC is the regulator for stablecoins. It just doesn't make sense. There's a reason why everywhere in the world, including the US, the government is specifically saying payment stablecoins are a payment system and banking regulator activity, which is why all these other articles which we've just read said, hey, Keep it straight, Give these banks, give these financial institutions the same set of rules. You can't all of a sudden match up a Security and Exchange Commission with a stable coin, which is literally a currency or pegged to a currency, which is the same. How does that make sense? We could sit here debating it for hours, but all I'm just trying to say is the SEC, I don't want to say they're corrupt, but it does look a lot that way. I don't like the way in which they operate. I think it will not be too long before they get taken down after investigations get too far, but we're still in that phase of figuring everything out. And I just wanted to make that clear that this is ongoing. And that's it for today's video. See you guys later in another one.